communication. I touched on this a little bit in the last one, but I believe it's one of the most important things in a relationship. And I heard this on the Christy Wright show on podcast, and I think she heard it from John Deloney, I think, but I'm not entirely sure. But she was saying that we talk in words but think in pictures. And man, that's so true. Because when I say car, we're all thinking of a different vehicle. Some are thinking, a lot of people are thinking about the car they drive, which is, all different. The chances of it being, the exact car, color, make, model, all that stuff aren't much. Some people aren't even thinking about a car, they're thinking about a truck. Some people are thinking about, their first car, a classic car, the car, their dream car. So, just because we say words doesn't mean we're thinking the same thing. We might understand what the word means, but that doesn't mean the same picture comes to mind. And she was giving some examples, when cars kind of, one of them, just kind of a silly one, but, when you say the word vacation, it's interesting how when a couple are talking about vacation, I don't know how many times I've heard this, but it's a bunch, one of them wants to go to the mountains, which, mountains are in the middle and up, and one of them wants to go to the beach, which, if you live where I live, the mountains are there are some northeast of us, but the Rocky Mountains are northwest of us. That's where a lot of people want to go. You can go to the smaller mountains in Arkansas, but a lot of people, when they talk about mountains, they think of the Rocky Mountains. So, when you say go to the mountains, that's where they're thinking. And around here, when they say the beach, they're thinking Florida, Alabama, that way. Depending, I guess, where you live, you might go to the beach in California and go surfing, but, it's just funny how so much of that happens where they want to go different places. So they said the same word, vacation, but their idea of vacation was completely different. And, even if they both decide, vacation to the beach, what does that even look like? And that was something, that she was saying is, what does that look like to you? Because some people's idea of vacation is, all right, we're up at 6, we've eaten, we're leaving by 7, we have a list of stuff to do, we're not getting back till late, and we're getting up and doing it all again. And some idea, people's idea of vacation is, I'm sleeping in till 12, I'm not in any hurry, I'm gonna go lay out by the pool, I might go, their idea of vacation is totally different than the other one, who's just like, we gotta, 40 things to do each day, and we're getting the most out of it. And the other person's like, I'm just laying here and doing nothing. And so, that was just real powerful to me, that a lot of times that's how miscommunication happens, is we understand the words that are being said, but we don't understand the meaning, what they mean behind the words. And I think she gave this other example where she was talking to her husband about what they were going to do one weekend, and they had decided they were going to just stay home. And I can't remember if this was a true story or she was just, making one up, but it was, she was saying, his idea was he was watching football all day, and, he was going to have a relaxing weekend. And her idea was, oh, well, we have a ton of projects to do I'm going to come up with all these projects to do. And so, they said the same, they came to the agreement that they were going to stay home, but their idea of what they were going to do at home were two totally different things. And, those are just kind of some silly examples, but, it's weird, those can lead to some pretty big fights. But that can be a thing when you're talking about truly important matters of marriage. I mean, not that those aren't important, but bigger important matters in marriage, money and kids and that sort of things. You may be saying the same words, but what do they mean when they say those words? What when they say those words, what picture comes to their mind? And Annie Armand says this: assumptions are barriers to effective communication. Red Auerbach says this: it's not what you tell them, it's what they hear. Peter Drucker says this: the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. And Tony Robbins wrote this in his book, Awakening the Giant Within, I believe is what it is. No, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. It's just one of his sayings. The way we communicate ultimately determines the quality of our lives. And it's just communication is very important. And sometimes we have to hear the feeling behind it, the emotion behind what they are saying, and just assuming that we understand. That we understand what they're saying because we know the words they're saying. But it goes to the first point. What do they mean when they say those words? And when Tony Robbins talks about the way we communicate ultimately determines the quality of our lives, if we can't fully articulate how we feel or what we mean, it'll lead to a disconnect. So being able to effectively communicate your hurts, wants, and needs may be the most important thing to a successful marriage. Being able to talk through problems without the problem getting worse is important. That can be one of the big things, is just being able to say, this is how I feel. This is, this made me feel this way. This is, as you see so often that something happens, and I'm not, saying it's not a big deal, but they don't properly know how to convey that, so it just ends up in a screaming match or whatever, and then pretty soon they don't even know what they were upset about. They weren't focused on a problem, and then other problems and then so something that was important, but it could have been small, ultimately blows up into this huge thing. And just in communication is just important, especially in marriage, but just in life in general. If you don't know how to communicate with people, it will always cause conflict. And so it's just important to be able to communicate effectively. And one of the things, you have to know what you want. Your spouse isn't a mind reader, and that's something that drives me crazy, is when you just watch some of these movies and they're like, or you just hear these stories that are like, well, I just expect them to know. It's like, well, they're not a mind reader, so I don't know why you would expect them that. I don't know what false assumption you came under with that. Who lied to you about that? But your spouse isn't a mind reader. You have to clearly and articulately, in a peaceful and graceful way, articulate. Graceful, not like like a writer graceful, but like with kindness, how you feel and what you want and desire. And so I just believe the communication is very, very important in a marriage. So don't assume things, talk things through, because you will be married to this person for the rest of your life, so you will want to be able to talk to them clearly and effectively and in a loving and kind way. So I just hope this helped you, and that you got a lot out of it, and that your marriage will be all that you have dreamed. Thanks for watching and listening. It would mean so much to me if you hit the like or subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, or like the Facebook page.